This is the Cycling Over 60 podcast, Season 2, Episode 35. Kelly is getting a bike, and I'm your host, Tom Butler. In the episode last week, I started planning for this season's challenge. I'm looking to ride about 400 miles across the state of Washington. I originally planned to ride 100 miles a day and take a rest day in the middle for a 5-day trip. However, I can't work out places to stop that would accommodate that schedule. So I'll be riding all 5 days, but putting in less miles per day. This week, I finished the route planning from where I left off last week. I really wanted to stop for the night in Winthrop, and riding 5 days would allow me to do that. From Winthrop, I will ride 76 miles to Tonasket and climb 2,654 feet. Leaving Tonasket, I do 92 miles to Kettle Falls. Google doesn't exactly follow the route that I will be doing. I am using the map for Section 1 of the Northern Tier route provided by Adventure Cycling Association. For the section between Tonasket and Kettle Falls, Google says I will be doing 7,720 feet of elevation climb. I am taking it for granted that that is very close. The final day will be Kettle Falls to Newport, which is 96 miles and 2,976 feet. I think this is a pretty good idea of the route. Putting it all together, I am looking at 422 miles and a climbing total of 21,552 feet. I feel like that would certainly be an accomplishment for me. Maybe at some point, I need to figure out more precisely what the route looks like, or maybe that is close enough and I can just discover the route as I go. Aside from route planning, I've made a decision to start wearing the continuous glucose monitor again. Right now, it seems like I need the feedback to be consistent with my meals. I just haven't done a good job since I stopped wearing it. I'm going to wear the CGM for the month of April and then again see how it goes without it. I am hopeful that when CGMs are available over the counter this summer, that the price will be low enough that I can wear one as much as I want. As I have mentioned before, my goal for the rest of my life is to be as lean as possible. And it seems like I do need the monitoring in order to stay on track to do that. I'm really excited right now because my wife Kelly has decided to get a new bike and join in my cycling adventures. She definitely won't be doing the ride across Washington with me, but her purchase of a bike does open up a different dimension of riding. I asked Kelly to come on and talk about her expectations of cycling together and her new bike. I thought I would also do a bit of an experiment for this episode. I'm always interested in the social aspects of cycling. So I talked to 3 people who will be doing a lot of rides with Kelly and me. They are Jesse Ferguson, who helps out with production of the podcast, and of course, our daughter McKenna and her husband Garen. After my discussion with Kelly, I asked them to make some predictions to see if they have a good idea of how Kelly will do as she gets up and going with her new bike. Here we go. I am here with Kelly Butler, who's joining me on the podcast for the second time. What is your relationship to the Cycling Over 60 podcast, Kelly Butler?
Never considered that question. I might be the official voice of reason that has no impact.
That is just fundamentally not true. The voice of reason part might be true, but you are definitely influential. You have another relationship that is possibly beginning.
Yes.
You're knocking on the door of 60 years old.
Yep.
So you're not quite in the point where you can be cycling over 60, but you're pretty close.
Just over a year.
It's over a year from now.
Mm-hmm.
And we are getting you a bicycle.
Yeah.
You will be joining in to the club of Cycling Over 60.
Yeah, that's crazy. I did not anticipate that.
You did not anticipate that you would be biking with us?
Well, no, because the bike that I've been using has not been comfortable, so it's not one that I thought I'd go on any long rides with. And since my daughter was of the same opinion for a long time, I thought I was safe. And then she abandoned me. She betrayed me. That's what she did.
So you were perfectly comfortable with the dynamic of Garen and I riding and you and McKenna like hanging out together and
Yeah.
support.
Yeah, that was great.
She ruined that dynamic.
Ruined it entirely.
I'm not sad.
Not surprised.
I'm not sad about that because I'm really excited that we could be riding together.
Yeah,
So,
I think it'll be some good times.
we haven't actually ordered the bike for you. We're ordering it online because it's a Cruzbike and there's not a dealer near us. So we're ordering it online. We're going to participate with their 100-mile test drive. So it is possible that you wouldn't like it and we would send it back.
Right.
They pay for shipping to send it back. So we're going to do that. So without any delay, I think we should head over to the computer and we should order the bike.
Really?
Yes.
Oh.
Right now.
Okay, let's go.
Okay, we are sitting at the computer. And you have the Cruzbike website up, which is cruzbike.com, C-R-U-Z bike.com, no E, and ready to go. So the first thing you needed to decide was what model you were going to choose. And that was a lot of discussion, and not to get deep into that, you decided to go with the Cruzbike S40.
Right.
Which I think is roughly like the 40 represents the amount degrees, the tilt of the seat. So you can get a 50, you can get a 45, which is adjustable. You can get a 20, the 45 to the 40 to the 20 reflect leaning back farther. And so after a lot of thinking about it, you chose the S40.
Right.
Here's one of the most important questions. What color did you choose to get?
Well,
First, talk about there's 3 options.
Yeah,
How would you describe the 3 options?
not ideal for me.
Okay.
Right. So there's a kind of a darkish blue, medium dark blue with orange design on it.
Not a deep, deep blue.
No.
So more
I
of a
guess
medium blue.
More of a medium blue with orange design on it, which I really don't like. It just does not appeal to me. Then there's a bright orange, and then there's a green, kind of a light, earthy green a little bit. I don't know how to describe it. So between those two was my decision-making
Because the orange
struggle.
was out.
Well, no, the orange has an appeal because to do something spunky on the spur of the moment, which, I like to do stuff like that, orange fits that, but
Okay.
I've never been a fan of the orange color.
Okay.
And so I'm going to go with the green one. I don't have much green in my life, but I think the color palette kind of fits what I do have better than the orange does. It's going to be part of my relaxation part of riding the bike is the green. It looks more mellow to me than the orange, which
Gotcha.
I don't see myself as particularly mellow, but I don't see orange is just not my color.
Okay.
So yeah,
Okay.
I just don't buy orange.
Yeah, you have like a copper color helmet. I don't know if that's...
Yeah, that would totally clash with the orange. I feel. I don't know. It doesn't go. None of these really match me. That's my struggle. Neither of them really match me. But
And this bike is pricey.
yep,
It is the most expensive bike.
of all your bikes, that's horrible. The least invested in biking, and I have the most expensive bike. That seems wrong. Very wrong.
I think it seems right because I think we're a little more invested and tolerate more discomfort than you would tolerate. We are buying this bike for you to really enjoy. And I don't think you inherently enjoy, at this point, cycling as much as we do.
Maybe not, but that's partly because I'm not comfortable on them. I mean, as a kid, I loved riding bikes. It was the wind through your hair and just flying around was really fun to me. But it's just not been comfortable. And I have, significant-ish issues with my neck and shoulders and wrists. And so I've just not enjoyed long rides.
Yeah, that is the main appeal for getting the cruise bike. And the cruise bike is a more expensive bike.
Right.
I think it's time to go ahead. We've not pushed purchase.
We haven't. Ooh.
But I think it's time to do that. But before you do that, You also are adding to this purchase a...
suspension adjustable headrest.
Okay, so again, your neck is one of those things, and part of the issues with your neck is that you've kind of gotten tweaked from your profession.
Yeah. Maybe if I waited a year and did the weight training and stuff that I'm planning to do anyway, I wouldn't need this bike, but I don't want to wait a year to be part of the family excursions.
I don't think it's that kind of an element, of like being on the edge of needing it. I don't think we're looking for something, it's like do some work and be more comfortable. I think this is the right bike from you. I think there's a lot of reasons why it's really good.
I hope so.
Yeah, and again, you've got 100 miles to test it, and if you find that, this isn't good, then do something different.
Yep.
Okay. Go ahead and hit purchase.
Will they deliver it to the house?
They will definitely deliver it to the house.
Okay. Shipping is free? Nice. I'm going to hit it now.
Okay, so we're at that point. It's time to purchase your bike.
Look at that.
Okay.
Woohoo!
You have a bike on the way.
Yay.
I wonder how long it takes to ship. Now I'm going to be...
Well, and I saw somewhere it ships next day.
Wow. Since you have purchased this bike now, I think there's a few questions I want to ask you.
Oh, fine.
To get your perspective on things. First, can you talk about why the recumbent was attractive to you? I did an interview with Jim and Maria Parker on February 16th. Anybody listening can go back and hear that interview.
Yeah, that really influenced me a lot.
What did you hear?
Well, it's impactful to me that someone who is a professional athlete and done it the traditional way for so long and was actually quite resistant to trying to recumbent, but when she tried it was like a world changer for her. That's a compelling story to me. Then that made me want to look into it a little bit more, and I just felt like if I'm going to be participating with my family for the long haul and staying active, it just seemed like for sure the best route on a bike.
I think there were some specific things. She was talking about wrists, about, you're not holding yourself up with your wrists. It seemed like that was a factor. The sitting on the seat, I think that was a factor.
For sure.
I think that was the main thing. I mean, you weren't looking, I can go faster or anything like that. You were looking at the comfort of being on the cruise bike.
Right.
And for you, and again, you're close to 60. If you're going to join me in this cycling over 60 adventure, then it's got to be more comfortable for you. Mm-hmm. Are you nervous at all about getting a new bike, especially like a pretty expensive bike?
Well, I would be nervous if I couldn't return it. I mean, that gives me a cushion to fall back on that really takes all the stress off of me, honestly. I would be if I didn't. I mean, if I really had questions. I mean, if I had serious questions about whether I could ride it, learn to ride it, or if I didn't think it would work for my particular pain issues, then I would be really nervous about it. But I've just seen over and over people with my particular pain issues have just loved it. So I'm not concerned really about pain. I am used to having some discomfort, no matter what you're doing. So it's not like it has to be absolutely in a float tank type comfort. I guess the things that I question is I'm curious about, since you kind of have your head on a headrest, how bouncy that's going to be, suspension wise. I'm curious about that. And so I am curious about what it will feel like on my neck. My neck is my biggest issue, really. And so I'm curious about how it's going to translate to how that will feel.
Do you feel like you are committing to something, like riding with us, that you're not sure that you can commit to?
A little bit. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you see this as changing the way we spend time together?
Yes. Currently, I have not been riding with you at all because your training rides are just not doable for me at all. And so I've not even tried. I've gone on short rides with you just for something to do, non-training ride, but that's few and far between. And I've been busy and not prioritizing moving my body as much. And so, I mean, I'm committed to more movement, and so translating that into doing more of that with you is going to look very different from what it's been like for the past, how many years have we been married? 30 years, 30 plus.
Is there a potential downside to this, whereas quite frequently on a Sunday, you'll get rid of me for a few hours? And so you're at home doing whatever you want to do for a few hours. And now those couple hours or 3 hours, whatever, you're going to be off with me.
Is there a downside to that?
Yeah.
Well, maybe not every Sunday.
You still need me to go off and do stuff.
Yeah. I'm curious to see how many family rides this is going to turn into. How many rides is it going to really translate into us riding with the kids? I'm curious about that.
I just see that as such a positive thing. If we can be more active as a family together, and I think I've been seeing that. You know, McKenna's been riding for a couple months now, and we've done several rides together, the three of us. I just think that it's very likely that this could turn into more family trips together, which I think is a very healthy dynamic as far as us staying with it.
Well, it's a huge motivator for me.
And you like to be active, no doubt about it.
Right.
And you also, I think, have not felt like you've been as active as you would like to be.
Right.
So if this changes that, I see that as huge.
For sure. Do
we need to talk about your earliest memories of biking with me?
Oh my goodness, really? Do we?
Are you nervous based on our earliest memories of biking together, of biking with me?
I'm not nervous because that had such an impact that I don't think you're going to take any chances.
So I'm going to let you tell your story about what happened.
Okay, so my side of it is we were riding with two friends. So 4 of us were riding bikes together on the beach somewhere, on a path along a beach. And we were having a blast. And I was riding along, and you came up behind me, unbeknownst to me. And from my perspective, I was just instantly on the ground. There was like, you hit my back tires in a way that there was no fighting it. There was no trying to correct it. I was just, boom, I was just on the ground. And so I think and we weren't even married, we were dating, right?
Yes.
So I think it was 1 or 2 times that I was not happy with you while we were dating, because you in my
no
mind,
wait, let's stop here. You weren't unhappy with me because I took you down.
No, I wasn't happy with you because you just insisted that it was because I was a poor rider, that I should have been able to handle that, and you could have done that, and I should have been fine. Like, really? You're gonna go there? You insisted, so I'm like, fine.
We have had this conversation so many times about that incident. Not in a while, though.
No.
It's been a while since we talked about it.
You've never recanted.
I've never recanted. I think I have. I think I have said, I'm really sorry. And still, in my mind, I've got this philosophy that...
Yeah, being sorry is not recanting. It's a very different concept.
To be clear, you're asking me to recant that I thought that you needed to have more skill as a cyclist.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so here's what I want to say in my defense. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, what I would like to say is that I did not go down. I bumped your back wheel slightly with my front wheel.
Just barely kissed it, huh?
I felt like I just barely hit it. It didn't even disrupt my riding at all. And I'm hitting my front wheel, and you went down. And I immediately felt like, I immediately felt sorry. I totally felt sorry about that.
I believe that. That's why I wasn't upset at you.
I know. And again, you would not have been upset by me accidentally taking you down.
No.
But I did think that, we need to go out and like on some grass someplace and just smack into each other on the bikes so that she can feel more comfortable with recovering from getting bumped. But as someone who is trying to win you over,
you didn't do the right approach, but somehow you still managed, but that was not the right approach.
I will be very careful.
I know you will be very careful.
Some of these questions I'm putting to Jesse. He'll be riding with us. And also I'll be putting to Karen and McKenna. So it'll be interesting how they answer some of these questions, including the what color did Kelly choose? How are you feeling about doing the 20-mile Emerald City ride on May 5th? That's 20 miles. It's 764 feet of elevation. It's not tremendously difficult elevation-wise, but it is some elevation gain.
Well, my question is, how much riding time am I going to get in between now and then? How comfortable? Because I understand that it can take a lot of miles for some people to get comfortable riding it. So I don't know what to think about that. I really don't know. You seem to think I'm going to learn it quick, but I have no idea.
Well, let's talk about that. I'm thinking if it shifts out immediately, you'll have a month between now and the time we do that ride. Mm-hmm. The question is, do you think you can master it in a month? I think this is an important distinction. Are you more nervous about climbing than you are about going down hills?
Well, I'm not in good shape at the moment. I'm not in very good shape. So I'm probably more nervous about going up because I don't think it's going to have the motor on it, because we do intend to make it an e-bike, but I don't think it's going to be on by then. I think I'll still be on the trial period at that point. So
how do you feel about walking your bike up a hill? Do you feel...
I'm not embarrassed by it.
Yeah.
No.
You feel safe. You don't feel confident, but do you feel at this point that in a month you'll feel safe going down a hill?
That's a huge open. I have no idea. I really don't know.
So it's going to be interesting to see how that comes about. But you are registered for that ride.
Uh-oh.
Which is fine. It's just a donation to Cascade Bicycle Club if you don't go. One thing about getting a cruise bike is it does not ride like a traditional bike. Mm-hmm. I'm going to use traditional bike to describe what, a diamond frame bike or...
Ancient bike.
It does take a little bit different skill. Now, there's this really interesting video, okay? There is this guy who does a podcast called Smarter Every Day. What he is showing is that there's this bike that has been modified. And what happens is that when you turn the handlebars to the right, the wheel turns to the left. Now, he has been bicycling all his life, and so he's learned to ride a bike. As a kid, sometimes it takes a bit to learn to ride a bike, and then you get used to it, and then you don't really think about it. It's like your brain is not engaged as you're riding a bike usually. Mm-hmm. But he was having to think super hard, and he could not ride this bike. There was a big part of it that his brain was not able to just comprehend how to ride this bike. So it ended up taking him 8 months to ride the bike, the modified bike. And then after 8 months of working to do this, then he at one point went back to ride a regular bike, and he could not ride that. Mm-hmm. And it took him some time. I don't remember exactly how much time it was, but a lot of tries before he was then able to ride a normal bike that he had been used to riding his whole life, because his brain started thinking differently. I think there's an element of this, and like what's happening with the brain with the cruise bike, because it's different enough. When you're pedaling on the same mechanism where the steering is, you have to get used to that feel, because you're putting pressure on the pedals in the same mechanism at which you're using to turn. They talk about that it's a process to learn how to ride a cruise bike. Mm-hmm. I think there's some interesting brain stuff going on here. So the cerebellum is where we learn about coordination
and balance.
And, there's some interesting stuff about what's actually happening within the cerebellum about how we learn new physical behaviors. I don't fully understand it, but there is this mechanism by which a behavior done over and over and over again starts getting laid down in a way in the cerebellum, so it becomes automatic eventually for the brain to do it. Now, it was interesting because this guy from Smarter Every Day, his son, who is young, or was young at the time, it took him like 8 days to learn how to ride this bike.
Mm-hmm.
So, there is this difference between a young brain and how easy it is for the cerebellum to make these shifts than for an older brain.
Mm-hmm.
There's another really interesting aspect of this is that it seemed like his brain, and I don't think the cerebellum is the only place where this is going on, but it seemed like his brain struggled, and then suddenly everything clicked and it worked. It wasn't like a completely linear progression where it's getting, I'm a little bit better than I was yesterday, a little bit better than that, a little bit better than that. It was like a struggle, then something clicked. And there was this big jump in ability.
Well, it'll be interesting to see if there's the same correlation with this, because it feels like when you're riding a bike that functions completely the opposite. Your brain is, it's intuitive. If you lean right and you turn right, you're going to go right. It's very counterintuitive. It's like your brain has to deny what feels like reality to do the opposite on a bike where the steering wheel is switched. It seems to me like the cruise bike, you're not really having to trash basic gravity and basic momentum and inertia. It's like it's having to go against all those natural laws to function on that other bike, where it doesn't seem to me like the cruise bike is quite that far. So I'll be curious to see if there's just a click time or if it just is a little bit more linear than that.
I think it's a good observation. I think that there's a lot of things that transition over for a cruise bike, but I still think there is this automatic thing that is in your brain from learning to ride a bike and spending enough time on a bike for that just to become automatic, that I think it's going to be similar. So I'm expecting there to be this period of struggle, and then it clicks. That's what I'm expecting. Now, Cruise Bike is saying that they want you to take at least 100 miles in order to figure out whether or not it's going to click for you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm sure they're being generous with that, but
I hope so.
Yeah, but I think there is going to be a possibility that you're going to struggle, and then all of a sudden it's going to click.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see.
Do you have some thoughts about what it's going to look like when you are learning to ride?
Well, the first thought I know is not correct. In my mind, I'm just like, okay, I'm going to get on the bike and it's going to be a little bit weird for the first 10 minutes and then you'll get it and you'll be able to learn to ride it. And I think that's completely false. So I have no idea how long it's going to take and what that's going to look like. So
I think that may be a comment on how easily you've learned to do new things in the past.
I don't know, maybe.
I think that's something I've definitely experienced with you, is that you pick up on things pretty quickly. There is this thing called flintstoning that they talk about, mm-hmm. where you're just kind of like moving yourself with your legs, just trying to get the feel of how different having kind of more weight in the front with the derailleur and the chain and everything tied to the front wheel, then it's a little bit different from a balance perspective, how the bike is balanced. Mm-hmm. So they have that. And then they want you to get on a slope and go down. It is possible that people are going to be watching you flintstoning and struggling with this. Mm-hmm. How do you feel about maybe being observed struggling?
It doesn't really bother me.
I'm not surprised.
It's a funny looking bike. So, you know, I'm going to have to be okay with people thinking I look like you're disabled. Like I'm disabled, yeah. I mean, it's a very unusual look to the bike. So I'm probably have more of a thought about that than just somebody watching me learn to ride it.
I am really curious at what percentage of people will look at that and go, oh, that's a recumbent. Or I don't think many people will go, oh, that's a cruise bike. I don't think there's that many people that are aware of cruise bikes. They'll just go, oh, that's a cruise bike. I'm used to seeing that. I think you will get some attention based on the bike you're riding. I think that we have access to a street in our neighborhood. So you won't be out in public, in big public. And it's actually not that traveled of a street. And so I think that's going to make it a little bit easier. You won't have to worry about cars so much. And it's a nice gentle slope. And I think that will be helpful. Do you want to make a prediction about how long before you feel comfortable? How many miles is it going to take you before you feel comfortable riding the bike? I think you should make that. I think you should make that prediction.
No way. I hate that kind of thing.
You've watched some stuff online. You've kind of seen the process for other people. Yeah, I know you do. You're like, no, you don't make statements without totally having the data to back up your statement. I'm asking you to put a number on how many miles.
Miles or hours? It would be easier to do hours. I don't know, honey.
Okay, let's do it this way.
What?
100 miles. Do you think it'll take you the full 100 miles?
No.
How about 50 miles? Do you think it take you?
I think I'll learn it in 50 miles.
Okay. Do you want to go to 25 miles?
No.
Okay. So somewhere below 50.
Maybe. I'm hoping.
Okay, so
I'm not going to predict. I'm hoping.
You're not going to predict.
No.
I won't force you to make a prediction. But you are hoping for 50 miles. Now, here's a question I'm going to be asking McKenna and Garen and also Jesse, since you'll be riding with Jesse, to weigh in on this new bike for you.
Okay.
Do you think it's possible that you'll get frustrated and give up before you learn to ride it?
No, I don't think so. I think it's possible that if my neck just feels stupid or it's uncomfortable or I just can't get used to how my body feels, if there's a just doesn't jive with my body, then I'd say no, but I don't think I will give up in frustration.
I don't think it's the same thing. Like, when you say your neck feels stupid, I think a better way to say that is that if you have neck pain,
right?
If your neck's uncomfortable,
or if the head bounces, I'm not used to having a headrest. There's a headrest, so if my head is bouncing on the headrest a bunch and it's obnoxious, I don't think that stuff like that maybe, but I don't think I'm going to give up because I can't balance the bike. I can't ride the bike. I don't think that's going to be my limiting factor. I
have experienced you as somebody that enjoys a challenge.
Yeah.
You don't really get frustrated. In fact, I have experienced you laughing. Like when you're trying to do something new and you're failing, you're laughing. Yeah, I think that you kind of enjoy the whole process and laugh at yourself a little bit. You're able to laugh at yourself a little bit if you're struggling and things like that. So I expect you getting frustrated and quitting to be a 0 chance. Okay, a few more predictions.
Oh, no.
Since you're so happy with predicting.
I love predictions.
How long do you think before you'll ride 25 miles? Go for a 25-mile ride.
How long?
How long do you think it will take before you're comfortable going for a 25-mile ride? I'm taking for granted that it's comfortable.
Uh-huh. No more than 3 weeks.
Okay.
If we get out and ride it, enough.
Yeah, so it will have to be putting some time in.
Yeah.
How about 50 miles?
I have no idea. That's hard. I don't know.
Do you not picture yourself riding 50 miles?
I do.
Okay.
I picture that for sure.
Okay. How about 100 miles? You imagine yourself riding 100 miles.
I do. I would certainly, obviously within a year for sure, but
okay.
But I don't know.
100 miles means spending a significant amount of time on the bike.
Right.
In a day.
Yeah.
But you're open to that.
For sure.
So at this point, do you want to set the goal of doing the STP at some point?
Yeah, I plan on doing the STP at some point.
Nice. That's awesome to hear. Not this year, probably.
No.
But this year, you turn 59. the following year, you'll be 60.
Yeah.
You will follow in my footsteps of doing the STP at 60 years old.
Hey.
That's kind of fun, isn't it?
Yeah.
In your imagination, what do you think is the biggest risk for you being able to keep riding? What do you think would knock you out from being able to keep riding?
If I don't love it.
Yeah. There is a possibility that you're like going, this is the most boring thing I could possibly be doing with my time. There is that possibility.
There's that possibility, yes.
But I think if we're doing a lot of stuff as a family, then that changes it dramatically.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I think if we go on a 50-mile ride and we're just going for 50 miles, I think that's very different from going like 25 miles, stopping someplace, maybe grabbing something to eat, visiting, having people with us that we're visiting, and then turning around and doing another 25 miles.
Mm-hmm.
I think that makes a big difference.
Yeah.
We're going to learn a lot about that, which is awesome. You talked about this a little bit, but how do you envision handling it if we're on a ride, like we're going to be going on a group ride in May? I'm just saying that. We're going on a group ride in May. People are probably going to notice your bike and you on the bike.
Yeah.
How do you conceptualize getting that kind of attention?
Well, I might not be very proficient at riding it when we do this ride in May. So I'll probably be more self-conscious about that, maybe. Like, I don't know what I'm doing, but here I am riding this bike. Actually, I anticipate having more conversations with people than I would, otherwise. So I get to meet people. And so that part of it is kind of intriguing to me. I do think it looks like you're a bit disabled. I mean, I think there's just, what's wrong with it? You can't ride a normal bike. You have to ride that bike. What's wrong with you? There's a little bit of hesitation in that, but at the same time, it's certainly not a huge deal, and you can just turn it into in my mind, I think it's just going to be, I've never been a normal person anyway, so it's just more of the same.
So you'll have fun with it.
I'll have fun with it,
I think for sure.
Yeah.
I do think it's interesting. I think being on a bike trail, people who aren't cyclists would look at it differently than being with a group from Cascade Bicycle Club. Now, the Emerald City ride that we're going to do, I think that more maybe novice cyclists will do the Emerald City ride. So it might be a little bit different dynamic, but I think on most Cascade rides, people are totally used to recumbents. Mm-hmm. They might be intrigued by the Cruzbike as recumbent, but I don't think there's so much like, why is she on that with that group of people?
Yeah.
I'd be surprised to see that. There'd be more intrigue about, you chose to do recumbent, how you liking it?
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
We wear cycling jerseys, and I wear a cycling jersey because it's got pockets in the back. But I wear bicycling shorts, and I wear a jersey because it's the most functional thing to wear. And the pockets on the jersey are really functional. But you are going to be laying on your back, so you don't need pockets. And you're not sitting on a bike saddle, so having padded shorts is not going to be that big of a deal.
Oh, that's nice. I don't have to wear padded shorts.
What do you imagine doing as far as what you're going to wear?
Well, I still imagine wearing cycling-ish shorts, just maybe not padded ones. I mean, you still have the issue of being able to ride cleanly without, having your clothing get in the way. So I don't think I'll look much different from you, honestly.
So you're not concerned about that at all?
No.
I mean, you can wear a cycling jersey. Mm-hmm. You just can't use the pockets. Here's a question that I'm asking others. How cold will be too cold for you to ride?
Okay, well, that's my biggest question about living in Washington, is having to buy all the equipment to ride in rainy, cold weather. So that all depends on the equipment that I have decided to purchase. I'll just pull out a number and say 40 degrees.
Okay, all right, that's a good number. You did a lot of skiing as you were growing up. Mm-hmm. I don't know, a lot is the right way to say, but you didn't shy away from cold when you were downhill skiing.
No.
So you're not one that really has shied away from cold in the past.
No, I just imagine it being more difficult to layer and manage those layers, as you're riding, because you're putting out a lot of energy, and so you're going to start out cold, You're going to have to be comfortable, it seems like, starting out cold or stopping and peeling off layers. That's actually a big question of mine, is how is that going to work? How do you manage the changes in... But that's not specific to recumbents.
I mean, that has been a question of you about riding with me in the past.
Yes.
So I anticipate there being times where I go out on the bike that you don't go.
For
if
sure.
it's really rainy and cold.
Yeah, I'm not going on every training ride you have there. Sorry.
But who knows? You might find that, yeah, with the clothes that I have on, not a problem. And that's a possibility too.
I think I'm always going to want something with me that I can take layers off more than you do.
I think that's a fair assumption. We are planning to put pedal assist on your bike. So put a motor on your bike, a hub motor, which I think is kind of fun. I'm just really curious about the fact you will be driving the front wheel with your pedaling, and then you'll have a hub motor that drives the rear wheel. So in effect, you have all-wheel drive. You have two-wheel drive, so you have all-wheel drive. I'm just really curious about what difference that would make with the bike, how that feels.
Yeah, I have conflicted emotions about the motor, actually. But I know that I'm going to get one at some point, not after the 100 miles. And not before the 100 miles, but likely after the 100 miles.
When you think about the conflict that you feel in your mind over the pedal assist, what's that stem from?
It stems from people thinking I'm just being a wuss.
Yeah.
Because I intend this for exercise, but I don't think, and you don't think that I can keep up with you, that I'd be able to keep up with you, and I think that's a reality. So I think in order for it to work well, I'm going to need pedal assist, but that kind of bugs me too.
I don't think it's reasonable to think that you can climb with us on hills. So I think like going up any specific hill, I think it's going to be good for you to have the pedal assist. And I think going up several hills, if we're doing 33 miles and 2,000 feet of elevation gain, I think it's reasonable that you have the pedal assist. We can take that off at any point.
Yeah, I probably won't.
But there is that option.
Yeah.
But there is this thing about you knowing in your mind, I know that you're going to push it. And what I think is interesting is some of the data that shows that people that have pedal assist are still going at 80% of what they would be going if they were on a bike without pedal assist. People across the board are expending energy, are getting fit, are challenging themselves, even though they have pedal assist. And I definitely think you'll be one of those people. I think you'll use it when you feel like you need to use it.
Yeah, that's what I've done in the past. But on the rad bike, the rad bike was so heavy that using the first level of assist felt like you're just like back on a normal bike. So it'll be interesting to see what levels of assist are available in the motor we get.
The system that we'll put on this bike is much more sophisticated than what you're used to. So it will be interesting to see how that changes things. Mm-hmm. How fast are you prepared to go downhill?
I have no idea. How fast have I gone so far? What's the fastest I've gone downhill with you on the rad bike?
I think around 24 miles an hour, maybe 25 miles an hour for a short period of time. When we go downhill, I usually get out quite a ways in front of you.
Well, yeah, especially on the rad bike, because I had to pedal hard to keep up with you going downhill. I had to really work going downhill to even keep up with you.
Did you brake ever with the rad bike going downhill?
Probably at some point, but not usually because I was having to work. I wasn't flying downhill. Just the rad bike didn't work that way. It was heavy, and so I had to actually pedal a lot going downhill.
Do you think 30 miles an hour sounds pretty fast on a bike?
Yeah.
How about 40 miles an hour on a bike?
Well, it's a good question. I've just never been on a bike and gone really fast. On a jet ski, I'll take 70 miles an hour, but I don't know about a bike.
Right. It will be interesting to see how that advances over time. I mean, obviously, there's going to be a period in the beginning where you're getting used to handling the bike that you're not going to want to descend very quickly.
Right, yeah.
But it will be interesting how that goes. Okay, 2 more questions.
Okay.
We've talked a lot about us going out as a family. Mm-hmm. There's also other families, like the Fergusons.
Yeah.
What do you think about having access to something active we can do with other families like the Fergusons?
I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's great.
I think that there's an element of trying to find people in our community that want to go do stuff and do active stuff with people. I'm pretty excited about that.
I'm very
too.
excited about that, actually. Yeah.
Okay. The final question, who's putting the bike together?
I think we both are going to end up doing that together. I'm going to want to do it, but you have more experience with bikes, so you'll have more innate knowledge about bikes. So I will lean on your knowledge and experience.
I don't know that my experience is going to be a big deal with it. We do a lot of things together. We do, house projects and everything together. And there's some things that you're definitely better than I am at.
And vice versa.
More vice than versa. But, but I also think that they have to make this a pretty easy process to get the bike put together. And it's not, you don't adjust it the same way for fit the way you would, do a traditional bike.
Right.
But it's, I think it's going to be fun.
It'll be fun. Yeah.
And I'm already anxious to go online and see, okay, when are they planning on it getting here? So.
Me too.
Again, thank you for having this discussion. And I really want to say thank you for just supporting me so much all the time with this whole bicycling deal. I really appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm glad you're doing it, so I'm happy to.
Well, all right, that's it for now.
All right, off we go.
Off we go. I wanted to call and talk to you about the fact that Kelly is getting a bike. So I'm pretty excited about that. And
yeah, you've talked about it before.
Yeah. So I wanted to, I'm talking to you, and then I'm also talking to Garen and McKenna. Kelly has not been riding with us. And so I'm just interested in what you think about her getting a bike and asking some questions that I've asked her, kind of seeing how you guys can predict her responses to the questions that I'm asking. So this is a kind of Kelly's going to be riding with us, and what do you guys think of that kind of thing?
Okay, I'm ready.
So the first thing is I'd like you to pull up a picture of her bike. I don't think you've seen a picture of the bike that she's looking at getting.
That's true. I said crew because I saw a link that you sent. It says cruzbike.com.
Very nice wordplay.
It was an accident. Is this a recumbent bike then?
Correct. It's a recumbent bike. It's called an S40.
Wow. Okay, I'm looking at the Cruzbike S40. It's blue with an orange logo thing on the side.
Yes. One of the things unique about it is that
it's not the front wheel drive.
Yeah, so it's front wheel drive. The first question is, looking at it, what do you think?
It's a really cool design, but I immediately think of if she's going to be using this on the road, part of that, I don't know, I'm imagining that she wants to do the STP. I don't know if she does, but if she was going to join us in July, if you're trying to draft behind somebody, she doesn't have a lot of time to react to a pothole or something that everybody's trying to swerve around and can't see because they're looking at the lumbar area of the person in front of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's that. Also, she looks like she'd be pretty low, so that's an advantage, I guess.
Yeah, I think that
it's aerodynamic.
Yeah, I think that drafting for her on that bike would be much less of an issue. And then also, I don't know that her field of vision is a lot higher. I think she's looking at the road, so I think she would be able to look at kind of the rider in front of her and the road in front of her to react. What might you guess that she would answer to a question about if she is nervous getting a new bike?
I'd say definitely. Because she's tried biking before in one form or another. The e-bike that she has, I don't see her on it very often, And so, to me, I think that she'd be like, well, here goes an experiment, She's a little bit of a risk taker, she's willing to do experiments for her health and for the betterment of relationships. So maybe that wouldn't be as much of an issue for her, but I think she hopes that it works out. And it's a little bit of it's kind of heavy if it doesn't work out because of, just how expensive this bike is.
One interesting thing is that there's a 100-mile test drive. So if you put 100 miles on it and you don't like it, then they pay for you to ship it back.
So you have to get used to it, and you can't jump on it and hate it and want to get rid of it. They're actually making you give it a shot. So that's really cool of them to do that. Do you know how long they expect it to take for somebody to have that switch thrown in their brain so they're enjoying this bike? Or is that why they say 100 miles? 100 miles of falling.
I think they're betting that most people fall within 100 miles. And again, I think that's one of the interesting things is that I think that maybe people, they're not seeing it, and they're going like, this isn't going to work for me. But then there's a switch that gets thrown. The brain goes, okay, I got what you're trying to do. And it just happens.
Did you find this bike or did Kelly?
I saw a cruise bike on one of the bike rides. I think it was actually not what I was doing. I think it was the RSVP. I saw one. I'm like, that's really neat recumbent. And I was thinking of somebody else, a friend of ours that had been talking about maybe getting a recumbent. On February 16th, I interviewed the CEO, actually the founders, one of them is the CEO of Cruzbike, a married couple. And as I was listening to them, Kelly started coming to my mind. So that's how I ended up looking at Cruzbike. And I do think as far as recumbents go, I think it's the best recumbent out there. So this is where you could make a prediction. This isn't an easy prediction to make, but do you think Kelly will get the hang of this?
Yes, I do.
How long do you think it'll take?
I think that she will. I think I need a more specific parameter about get the hang of it. I'm going to go off of what I instinctively feel that means. I think that in the first day of her owning the bike, if she goes out and really tries it, that she'll be able to ride it all the way down the block and turn around and come back. And that qualifies to me as getting the hang of it. Like she can actually ride it now. I also think that within the first 20 miles, she'll have a fall. She'll go down at some point, and that it won't be very fun for anybody. I don't think it'll be a bad crash. But then, by the time she gets to 100 miles, I think she'll be pretty. And actually, I think probably within the first 50 miles, she'll be handling it relatively expertly.
Do you think that she will ride 100 miles in one ride at some point?
In one ride. She really wasn't happy about you doing the STP when it was first brought up. Though a lot of people who aren't cyclists think that 200 miles is really, really, really far for a bike. But once you get used to centuries and things like that, it loses its scariness and it doesn't sound like a big thing anymore. But I think she will. I think that she'll enjoy it. She likes nature enough. She likes you enough that I think she'll go out and actually hit it. Yeah, but I think she won't think that she will do 100 miles. It'll be like she's enjoying it and doing it a lot, and then an opportunity will arise for some longer ride, and she won't have put in the time, and she'll be able to do it. And obviously, I don't know. Maybe the reason she's getting this is because she is already planning on doing the STP, but I don't know that. I haven't talked to her about it.
So you saw the bike. One thing that we didn't talk about is what color do you think she will choose?
I'm seeing the color options here on the website. I don't know. So I'm around her every once in a while, and she doesn't really wear a lot of bright colors. So I think she'll pick blue, but I'll let you know. If it was me, I would pick orange.
Okay.
But I think she'll pick blue.
Okay.
If she picks orange, I promise you that I will jump off of the ground in celebration.
Well, that's good incentive. I better not tell her that until she's already chosen. Here's an interesting thing. You're on your back, so pockets on a cycling jersey don't do any good. You're not on a seat, so padded bike shorts aren't really a part of it. The question is, will she wear those things to fit in, or will she wear something else?
I think she'll probably wear a prom dress. No, I'm just kidding. really good ventilation. It keeps you cool. Gets tangled in the chain. She goes to the gym, and she's a regular gym rat person, So, and I think that she has exercise clothes. I think she'll just wear exercise clothes, spandexy kind of stuff. I don't think she'll probably wear padded shorts if you don't need to. No cyclist is really a fan of the padded shorts, except while they're on the bike. So that's what I think.
Good
Probably
answer.
wear some kind of jersey, because jerseys make a lot of sense on bikes. They're comfortable. And a lot of my jerseys don't have, pockets on the back. There's plenty of that don't.
People react to seeing cruise bikes. How do you think Kelly will feel by getting people reacting to her on the cruise bike?
Kelly is not the kind of person that likes to run up onto the stage and give announcements and chit chat with like an audience and stuff. So I don't think that there'll be any motivation for her to get attention. But I also know that she's pretty friendly. And so I think that she'll be happy to talk about the bike and the experience of riding the bike and why she got it and those kind of questions. But when the conversation is closing down, I don't think she'll and one more thing, there's people who advertise their opinions a lot, and Kelly has a good self-control when it comes to, she wants to share things that are helpful to people, but she doesn't want to force it on people when they don't want to hear it. And so I think she'll have good social intelligence, let the conversation end.
I like it. Okay, 3 more questions. How cold will be too cold for her to ride?
It's hard enough to ride in the rain when you're in an upright position and it's falling on your head and shoulders and maybe on your knees and splashing your feet. In this position, you're getting from toe to the top of your forehead, it's got full rain exposure. And so I think that might be less comfortable unless you get some pretty good rain gear. When it comes to inclement weather, I don't think that I don't know if she's not if she goes to the gym instead of goes on runs, going on jogs outside, although she seems kind of tough. I don't think she'll go out when there's ice on the ground. I think that she will avoid rain for the most part, unless it's some really important ride. And I'll set my temperature, since that was the original question, I forgot about it. I'll set my minimum temperature at 40 degrees Fahrenheit.
Well done. How fast downhill do you think she's prepared to go?
Faster than everybody else. The way that she drives, she takes corners quickly, and I don't know if she actually breaks the speed limit, but she doesn't really use the brakes very much. So I think that she loves speed and the feeling of going fast, and so I think that she'll be the same on the bike. She'll try to resist using brakes, and she'll just be accelerating the whole way down long hills.
Do you have a miles per hour that you want to attach to it?
Oh, okay, miles per hour. She probably has to have gone 300 or 400 miles before she is willing to just really coast down a long hill. I think she's probably willing to go up to 40 miles an hour.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll say that the speed that she's willing to go and the minimum temperature that she's willing to go are going to be the same for me.
I like it. And then the final, very important question. Are the Fergusons prepared for a cycling adventure with the Butlers?
I am. I have a dream that Brenda will pick up cycling more than she has. She enjoys it a lot when we do go, but she's not equipped for it yet, with cycling shorts and all that kind of stuff. If you mean by an adventure, 20 miles, I think that we would give that a shot.
And I'm thinking about the kids too, so I'm not thinking about going a long way.
Okay, well the kids do 8 miles pretty well, but it's slow because they stop and look at bunnies and stuff like that. Get off the bike and try to pet them. It would definitely be an adventure with the kids.
Well, I'm certainly down for that. So.
Okay, then yes, we would love to go on a bike ride with you guys and call it an adventure.
But I kind of imagine if Brenda sees Kelly riding this and is like, hey, that's pretty good, kind of imagine you possibly figuring out how to convert a bike into a recumbent bike.
Oh yeah, I'm a fan of bike mods. Like I used to ride a bike that was one frame welded on top of another frame with a child's bicycle wheel on the front and a 29-inch wheel on the back and extended handlebars and everything. I used to ride that around. I would be happy to make something like this for somebody. Yeah.
So we'll have to see how that goes. We'll have to see what Brenda thinks about it. All right. Well, we'll see how you did. I'll be talking to Kelly soon, and we'll see. It'll also be interesting to see how your answers compare to McKenna and Garen's answers.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious actually, and I'm looking forward to all my prizes for getting them right.
Well, I will have to be
all my satisfaction of knowing Kelly.
That's right.
You don't have to give me any prizes. All right,
man.
Is that it?
Yep, that's it. Talk to you later.
Bye-bye.
Okay, Garen and McKenna, thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having us.
Hey.
This is a fairly epic day because we ordered your mom a new bike.
Woo!
Yeah, so we are ready to go on bike trips as a family. I want you to come on, and it's kind of like, how well do you know your mom and your mother-in-law, and how she answered some of these questions? So I'm intrigued to see if you guys are in line with her thinking about this whole thing.
I feel ready for this.
Nice. The first and most important question is, what color did she choose?
Of the 3 colors that are listed here?
Correct. Independently from each other, which color do you think she chose?
Well, I know what color she chose.
Are you ready with your answer, Karen?
Yeah.
I think she chose the blue one.
I'm going to go on a limb here. I think she chose the green one.
Ooh.
She chose the green one.
Oh, man.
Yes. I figured it was kind of like a more spunky color, and I think that appealed to her.
The blue with the orange logo, she didn't like at all. She felt like the orange one might be too bright.
Mm-hmm.
She wanted something a little more earthy. So she chose the green one. And she felt like maybe she doesn't have any green in her life, but maybe that green will correspond to a calmness riding the bike.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The truth is she didn't like any of the colors. So it was making a choice between 3 choices that she wasn't that crazy about.
Right, there's no purple option. I was hoping there was a purple option.
Would have made this too easy.
Now, at some point, we might have to go out and get a custom paint job of her bike. The bike takes a little bit to get used to. There is a process of figuring out a different way of steering your pedaling, but as you're pedaling, you're also steering with what you're pedaling with. So there is some transfer of biking skills, but you still have to learn it. They ask you to ride 100 miles. If you don't like it after 100 miles, then you ship it back. So I am anxiously waiting to see some tracking information. They said that it ships the next day, so I'm pretty excited. So she should be able to get on it pretty soon. The question is, they're saying 100 miles, and you have to return it. How many miles will it take for her to get it? This one, you're guessing what you think.
What level of get it? Like, be able to ride steadily, be able to balance on it, be able to stop and go.
Set a land speed record.
Right.
I would say, how long before she's comfortable going on a significant ride?
In miles?
In miles.
So I think it's going to take her the full 100 miles. And the reason that I say that is because I think that with a bike like this being such a niche piece of equipment, we really want it to be perfect. And I feel like the bar for what constitutes mastery is a lot higher for this kind of thing.
Nice thought process.
My thought process is that I've seen my mom pick up things almost instantaneously that she's never touched before. So I'm going to go with 30 miles. It took me 40 miles to feel comfortable clipped in. I think it's going to be easier for her than it was for me transferring from a bike to a cruise bike than it was for me to learn how to be clipped in.
Her answer was really tough to get out of her. She does not like making predictions where she's has to just kind of come up with a number out of the blue.
Yeah.
So what I got her to was less than 50 miles. She's expecting it to be less than 50 miles.
Okay.
I think I'm on board with you, McKenna. We have seen her pick up on things pretty quickly. So I would be surprised even if it took her 50 miles.
Speaking of clips, is there any plan to have clips on this bike at any point?
Yes, there is. I have a theory that if you are just pushing on the pedals, you're disrupting your steering more than if you're cycling in a circular manner. So I think actually, I think clips are actually a valuable thing for this. And again, I think it won't be long before she'll be wearing clips. I think we'll probably go with something like your pedal, where it is you clip in half of it and you can use it clipless also.
Right.
Will she be open to riding 50 miles?
In one go?
In one go.
First time or just at any point?
At some point, is she going to be open to doing 50 miles?
That's really hard to say.
I think so. I think there's a community element that we offer, in the cycling over 60 community. It's something she's going to want to be a part of. And I think that if riding 50 miles is part of being in that community, I think that that's certainly something she'll pursue.
I think that there is an important distinction of comfort for her. I know she has really struggled with shoulder and neck issues. If this is, which is what we're looking for, if this is truly a bike that allows her to ride pain-free, then yes, absolutely, I think she'll be interested in 50 miles. But if a certain amount of straining triggers her shoulders or neck and she just can't get away from it, I don't think that she'll be open to it. So I'm having a hard time saying yes or no because I don't feel like I have information to really tell me that.
I think that's the right answer. When I was asking her this question, it was taking for granted that the bike's comfortable. Are you going to be open to it?
Then I would say yes.
Yeah, and she said yes. I don't think there's a question at 50 miles. I do think that, going out together and going out 25 miles, maybe stopping and visiting, maybe grabbing something to eat or something, and then doing another 25 miles, I think there's no question.
Mm-hmm.
And I think she's looking to do that in a couple months even.
For sure.
So we are scheduled to do the 20-mile Emerald City ride. I think she'll have a month on the bike before we do that. So for sure, 25 miles, definitely open to 50 miles. Okay. Do you think she will be open to doing 100 miles? Again, taking for granted that the bike is comfortable.
Open to it, yes.
When asking her, are you planning on doing 100 miles? What did she say?
I think that she said no.
I think she said no as well.
Because if you give a mouse a cookie.
She said yes.
Oh.
Wow.
That's exciting.
Yes.
That feels like she's saying she might do STP with us.
Posing the question to her, are you planning on doing STP? Are you saying that she would say yes to that?
I mean, all STP is 2 100-mile rides. So if you're down to do 100 miles, then you're doing STP.
I feel like if she's saying yes to 100 miles, she's saying yes to STP.
Well, back-to-back 100 miles is different than 100 miles. She saw us back-to-back 100 miles, so it is a little bit different. But that being said, she did say yes.
Is she talking about this summer or next year?
Not this summer,
Yeah.
but she would follow in my footsteps and do the STP when she's 60,
Cute.
which I think is really fun.
That's amazing.
I asked the question, what do you imagine feeling having people react to you on the recumbent? So being someplace and having people notice you on the recumbent. How do you think she answered that question?
I don't think that phases her in any capacity.
I think she's expecting to be noticed, but I also don't think that she's concerned about it. I don't think that's going to deter her at all. I think she's going to love that people are like, oh, what's that?
You both answered that, I think, perfectly. The truth is that she sees that she will have more interactions with people. She also thinks that people look at her and say, why are you having to ride that? What kind of disability do you have that you have to ride that bike?
Yeah.
So I don't know that that's going to be an issue on Cascade rides. I think people are used to recumbents on Cascade rides.
Yeah, and I certainly, doing STP and RSVP last year, both of those rides, there's at least a half dozen recumbents on each ride that I saw. I mean, it's not very uncommon at all.
Yeah. RSVP, I think, is where I first saw a cruise bike, and that led me to want to do an interview with them. And that interview was really crucial to your mom being interested in it.
So where do we stand then with electrification of the cruise bike?
We are putting a motor on it. She's going to have to get to the point where she's like, okay, I know I'm not sending this bike back. So she might not have a motor on it by the time we get to Emerald City.
Right.
I actually believe that she will feel comfortable enough before then. I'm going to want to do a lot of miles. And I think she's going to feel comfortable enough by then that we have a good chance, if we can get into the bike shop on time, that we'll get the motor put on before the Emerald City ride.
For sure. I feel like she's going to be comfortable in a weekend if you can get out enough.
I said that we wear cycling jerseys and bike shorts. She doesn't have any reason to wear padded bike shorts. And she can't really access pockets. She can't really put stuff in pockets of a cycling jersey. So when I asked her if she was going to wear a jersey and bike shorts, what did she say?
I think she said no, unless it's a cycling over 60 jersey.
I agree with that.
She said that she would definitely wear bike short like shorts. She would definitely wear, Lycra shorts.
Mm-hmm.
And she will ride a cycling jersey. She feels like, so what if there's pockets in it? She'll still wear a cycling jersey. How cold will be too cold for her?
I would say, considering how much less restrictive a recumbent is on what you can wear, there's no reason she couldn't put on her parka and ride this thing, So I don't see any reason why she couldn't get down to some pretty low temperatures. I bet she could ride in the mid 40s.
I was going to say nothing colder than 40 degrees. So very similar to what you're saying.
There you go.
So you and Jesse have both said 40. And that's what your mom said too.
Okay.
Nice.
So everybody's in agreement with that. I think that cold, rainy and 40, I think, is going to require her having something to wear, and particularly on her feet. So I think that that's going to be something that is going to have to be prepared for. When I asked her how she felt about people seeing her with the motor, with pedal assist, how did she respond to that?
Same way as the recumbent, I feel like.
Which is?
I feel like she's going to welcome the interaction.
Okay.
About her being out there and how this makes it so that she can be with her family.
I don't think she has any discomfort in being herself and in accommodating herself. I think that she goes out there and she does exactly what she wants to do. And it doesn't really matter what other people think about that. And if she wants to ride an recumbent, and that's what she's going to do.
Mm-hmm.
I think that that's 99% of how she is. That's what we experience her as. When she thinks about it, there is an aspect where she doesn't want people to think she's wimping out. She does not want to be labeled a wimp. And I think there was a part of her that she would like to do rides without it, that she would like to not have it on there and have the challenge of not having it on there. So I think it's going to be really interesting. I think that she's going to appreciate it. If we do any gravel stuff, then I think that it's going to be really interesting having two-wheel drive to do climbing on gravel. It will be very interesting to check in with her after the Emerald City ride. If we have the motor on it afterwards, how does she feel about having the motor? I think that will be interesting to hear her talk about that. Final question. How fast is she prepared to go downhill?
I don't think no limit.
As fast as she possibly can.
Yeah, I can totally see her wanting to get drafting with you, and she's just gonna have to like hold herself, back from that. She might slingshot off of you. Honestly, I don't know if that's something you can do on a recumbent, but as fast as she can go.
You guys and Jesse are on the same page. Jesse specifically talked about her driving as evidence that she likes going fast. But the truth of the matter is she does not know. She has never experienced going downhill. Now, she will not really get the same advantage from drafting that that an upright cyclist gets, because she's in an aerodynamic position. I don't know what happens. The weight of the bike is going to be more because the motor is on it, but it's not going to be as much as if I was on the bike. Her weight plus the weight of the motor is still lighter than if I was on the bike.
Really?
Yeah. And so it will be interesting to see how fast she can coast.
Yeah. I'm going to have to be keeping up with all three of you.
I think there will definitely be some time for her to get really comfortable descending on that bike before she lets loose.
I've experienced being on the back of a jet ski with her, and I recognize that concrete and water is very different. But there is a certain level of excitement that I think she's going to get from going downhill that is going to be a very, very fast. She's gonna be very comfortable very quickly.
She is very aware of what it's like to wipe out on water, and she's gonna at some point take a tumble on this bike.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be a very different experience. I'm nervous about it. It's going to take a little time, but I think she's going to enjoy going downhill fast.
Definitely.
I said last question, but I have one more. What message of welcome to the party would you like to give to her at this point?
I'm thinking of a couple of different things. I'm super glad that she found something that is going to accommodate her physical needs. We've talked so much about how she wants to get out more, and she'd like to go hiking. She wants to be doing this thing with the family. When I announced to you guys that I was going to be doing training for this triathlon with Garen, it was during that conversation that she said, okay, well, I guess I'm going to start biking. So my welcome is like, all right, glad to see that you found what works for you. Not necessarily a finally you're here, but a like, this is expected, awesome, great timing. Super excited.
Yeah, I mean, I would count STP and RSVP and even the shorter rides like Chili Hilly as some of the most fun things that I've done. And I just am happy to be able to share that excitement with another person. The more the merrier. Perfect.
All right, that's it. Thank you. And we'll keep you posted. All right, have a good night.
All right.
You too.
I think all three of them showed that they know Kelly really well. And I think something that can be taken away from both conversations is that they are going to be invested in seeing Kelly succeed as she starts riding with us. I think having supportive people around us might be the biggest factor in being successful at riding later on in life. I'm expecting nothing but good times as Kelly gets used to her cruise bike. There is the possibility that it isn't going to work out and we will end up returning it. However, I think there's plenty to look at that leaves me optimistic that we are starting a new exciting chapter in my Cycling Over 60 journey as we do more rides as a couple. I have launched the Cycling Over 60 Strava group, but I'm still learning how to manage it. But please add your presence to the group. I want to do some group activities around National Senior Health and Fitness Day coming at the end of May. I'm currently looking for some sponsors to do a group challenge around that day. So hop in the group and see what we end up with. I have put a link to the Smarter Everyday YouTube video that I mentioned in the show notes. You can also find my email and the show Instagram in the show notes. I always love getting comments and topic suggestions. And of course, you can comment in the new Strava group. Whether you are new to cycling like Kelly or have been at it for decades, I hope all your cycling adventures are fantastic. And remember, age is just a gear change.